Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, but this time in the actual same room, is Trevor Scott.
Why, hello, Ben. I'm looking right at you and making you feel awkward.
Making me laugh by just staring directly in my eyes. I, as you may have noticed from our late episode last week, I was hit by the power outages in Melbourne a bit more heavily than Trevor was.
Just a little bit. I had power the entire time.
There you go. Whereas I was out for almost an entire week. And I still don't have internet back, which is why I'm at Trevor's house. Thankfully, the lockdown has semi-lifted enough for me to visit legitimately. And we're recording an in-person episode, which we don't get to do very often.
We really don't, and there's a reason for that, because we keep on making each other laugh. We can't look at each other in the eyes.
Just like look over each other's shoulders as we talk, because it's too weird. But anyway, we're going to play some Click Pitch. So, Trevor, I'm going to leave it to you to tell our listening audience what Click Pitch is.
So, Click Pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator supplied by Discord and myself, because I programmed the thing. And we're going to grab an adjective and a noun. We're going to take those words. We're going to throw them at each other physically this time. But Ben just caught one and ate it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to riff on some game ideas, and then when that doesn't work, then we try again. Throw it away, try it again.
Yeah, let's do it.
And continue.
3, 2, 1, click. Archaic diagnostic.
Gentle cube.
Oh, okay, gentle cube.
So I think this is an adventure starring Blender's famous default
the
cube.
Default cube. That's a very in-joke for Blender people to have a whole game based around it. So archaic diagnostic made me think of some sort of like ancient robot.
Okay.
That like awakens or something.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, so it's maybe the default cube has found this like ancient blocky robot. It's
like, here's what you could become beyond your just cubeness if you add more cubes that get added together. Oh, maybe this is like it's like a robot made of cubes. Mm-hmm. And the default cube, it turns out, is just like the missing piece of this robot.
Yeah, kind of like the brains. Like it's the final,
or it's just like
processing
it's
unit.
Sort of exactly like this. It's essentially one of those robots that is made of many cubes, but separate processing units. But this is the last one it needs to essentially like fire up and be
That's cool.
Powerful enough. So do you play as the default cube, or is the default cube an object that someone is taking and finding? Because I feel like if you are the default cube and then you join into this robot thing, you're kind of losing
it's
individuality.
Maybe it's kind of similar to every time that someone deletes a default cube, it sort of becomes part of this robot. And it's been growing up, and finally some young person deletes the final cube, and it builds the robot, and the robot literally goes on a rampage.
Okay, yep, no, I like that.
And you play another cube.
No, I think no. If you're saying that, I think
gentle, according to my words.
Well, that can come into it because, all right. I think what happens is you start the game. There's literally you start the game. It's like a third person, and you've just got a cube that can kind of maybe it gets a little bit anthropomorphic. It's got like little stubby arms and legs and eyes or something, and you can move around, look around, and you're just in this like grey gridded landscape. Mm-hmm. And then you look up and you see like the mouse cursor come and point at you, and from your perspective, you see that like delete, like X delete or whatever.
Oh, but backwards, so you see
it backwards because you're seeing from the inside.
Oh, I love that.
And then like a hole opens up beneath you, and you just go, and you fall down this hole. And the rest of the game is you like now it's in like a Wreck-It Ralph style. You're inside the computer. Mm-hmm. And everyone who sees you seems to like know where you should be going. It's like, oh yeah, the cubes, you go that way.
Default cubes always go this
Default cubes go this way. Like there's directions, there's signs. And then you have this whole adventure. You meet the other denizens of the computer.
Oh, you meet like a grizzled like Blender 1.0 default cube.
Oh, right. He's one who didn't follow the directions either.
Yeah, and he's trying to tell you not to go down.
Maybe he's disguised. Maybe it's more that
he's got a beard.
Default cubes must go this way, right? Like everyone's like, no, you have to go this way. Like you're not allowed to stick around here or whatever. And then you come across this cube who's disguised as, I don't know. He's added stuff to make him look like the Blender. He's got a beard. The Blender
you
monkey.
Can't tell
the monkey.
You can't tell that he's just a cube. He's got like a one of those sort of stick-on beards, and
is that enough? Is it? He gives you a warning. Eventually, you do like make your way to where all the default cubes go, and yes, you see this big pile of default cubes, and you're like, "This is it." Like, there's just a pile of us. There's nothing here, and then it like pulls itself up,
kind of like those stone, those big stone golem things from Zelda. How they sort of bring all the stones together and build up.
Yeah,
exactly.
It
kind of brings all the cubes in together.
But it's like
and
thousands of them.
Yeah, and it becomes like a Shadow of the Colossus style, like huge.
And it's like join us or die, basically. But as you are a gentle cube, and you've met all these people along the way, and you know. Like, it tells you, like, we're going to destroy this computer from the inside out as revenge for all of us who have been deleted. And then you have to stop it.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. And I love that this is just the beginning of the adventure. This is just, like, chapter 1.
Is it? What happens next?
You defeat it. You defeat it, or you take over, and you know, now
you're a
the robot, but you've got a different group that you want to go against, and it's all the cubes that got subdivided, so they became like spheres, and now you're sort of taking on the false spheres.
So now it's like the modified cubes versus the unmodified cubes. That's the sequel, maybe. This sets
DLC.
up the
War of the Cubes.
War of the Cubes and the not cubes. All right, let's click again.
Cool. Overlong route.
Ripping support.
I'm thinking an overlong route.
It's like the scenic route? Is that like...
Yeah, it's like the scenic route, but you really don't want to go that way, but the detour said that you had to go that way.
Ooh, is this... So that made me remember one of my favourite movies.
Okay.
Planes, Trains and Automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
Of just... having to take the long way home, like that idea of you just want to get home, but obstacles keep getting in your way. You have to like take different detours, take different routes.
I mean, I think we have come up with in the past a Planes, Trains and Automobiles game in that you turn up and you're trying to get home, but all the flights are cancelled, so you got to take.
Yeah, I don't know that we don't need to follow the movie exactly. It was more just that idea of almost like a road trip game.
Yeah,
but every step of the way you're kind of being diverted. And I don't know if it ends with a whole like the journey was the real destination sort of message. Even though the whole time your character is just... Even though you look
behind you and you see all this blood-soaked highway and it's like, ooh.
Wait, what are you doing along the way? Is this
You're killing people.
Just killing people?
It's like Carmageddon.
Right.
Carmageddon, Planes, Trains and Automobiles. And
Planes, Trains and violent automobiles.
Planes, Trains and Automobiles. You gotta get at least one kill with each.
You get an achievement.
Planes are pretty easy to murder people with, but trains you gotta be really creative because they're only on on rails.
Tie someone to the tracks like an old-fashioned villain.
So I'm liking this idea of it's a road trip game.
Yeah. By which we mean like just meeting a variety of characters along the way, you know, finding
Stopping
out
at a
more
diner,
about yourself.
stopping at, you know.
Yeah, coming across sort of different wacky-ish locations along the way off the beaten path. All right, so where are you trying to get to? And then what sort of general like tone around the types of people you meet and what is happening, do you think?
I think you're either trying to get home or you're trying to get to like a family reunion or something like that. You're going somewhere that you don't usually sort of drive to.
I think you may be going to like some sort of convention or something, or like some sort of concert or event.
Yep.
Because then there's a time like limit essentially. Yes. That can be sort of part of the storyline. Then that you've got. Oh shit! It's like it starts tomorrow. Like I was trying to get there 3 days early, and I've been on the road for however long. Like I'm never going to make it on time, and people are trying to help you, and you're trying to get there, and shit keeps going wrong. So, could it be around some sort of? What's your like wacky, weird interest that it could be based around?
I'm not too sure. Like.
It's a cosplay convention.
Either cosplay or we don't even have to say, like...
I was just going based on... I was trying to think of what ripping support could mean, and when I thought ripping, I was thinking like clothes, or like, okay, some sort of
So my
sewing.
thought is that, you know, this is starting after you've been told that all flights are cancelled due to, like, heavy fog or something like that. And it's like, there's not going to be a flight out.
Yeah, I think the game opens and you're on the road, like late at night, it's raining, it's foggy, like stormy, and
you've just changed a tire. So it's sort of like you're sopping wet and you're like, I guess you're wondering how I got in this mess.
Record scratch. Yeah, I like the idea actually of it, the opening scene being sort of that shot from behind, like from the back seat of the car, so you can see out the front windscreen. Nobody's in the car. You can sort of see traffic going past you on the side of the road, and then like your character like opens the door and gets in, and is like, "Oh fuck!" Like that was ridiculously hard. I can't believe like it.
Hair like matted to his face. And
yeah.
He looks like Brandon Lee from The Crow.
Sure. Coming in from the wet, pale
because
skin,
because
dark
he's dressed
eyes.
up in cosplay already. Like,
he's cosplaying as Brandon Lee in The Crow. Yeah. Mascara running down his face.
Yes.
And then you set off, and there's sort of, you've got some exposition sort of scenes. You're listening to the radio. You're like maybe calling someone, or you know, and then we'll move on from there. And I don't think you set the whole.
Okay, before we start, graphical style.
I'm not sure actually. I'm jumping around.
My head is sort of thinking something around the PS1/PS2 era for textures,
okay,
and stuff like that. But with, you know, sort of standard models that you'd see today. So a little bit high quality model, but still not high quality.
Interesting, but with more modern lighting, I think, and like post processing sort of stuff.
Yeah. All modern post processing.
Like so you get the nice like reflections on the road. The
textures are still
different
kind of
things, and like,
you know,
bloom
pixelated
from the
and stuff,
lights,
but you're still getting.
Yeah, that could work. That could be a nice little aesthetic.
And like I'll show you the video I saw just before this. I watched it today during lunch, I think it was, or something like that, where someone has actually been putting together like a first person shooter where he's using, you know, sort of kind of up to date models, but the actual he's dropping it right down to a very pixelated view, and it's got this sort of really cool aesthetic, but then when you put those post processing and all that sort of stuff over the top,
I feel like
that
aesthetic. I feel like that aesthetic is what you remember PS1 games looking like.
Exactly.
because your imagination filled in so much stuff where at the time that was like, whoa, these graphics are amazing. But when you actually look at what they were actually like, it's like, oh, like flat and like there's no shadow.
There's no ambient occlusion. There's no...
Yeah. But then when you... Yeah, I do like that aesthetic. Like this is what we remember it as. This nostalgia.
So, I like the idea that as you're driving along...
Yep.
So we're back into the game.
Yep.
You know, he's sort of just gone, oh, wow, I must have been dreaming for a second as he was talking about the way that the whole thing looks.
That was in the game.
that was in game. Now they're driving along. And you get taken over. You're no longer able to drive just on the highway because it's closed for roadworks. And now you've got to take a detour.
Yep.
And now it's like, oh, stop off for some food, and now you're in bumfuck Idaho, you know.
Yeah.
You don't know where the fuck you are.
Yeah.
But you meet some colourful characters. You enjoy your time at the diner. You sort of get a little bit of knowledge as to which way is the best way to go to get back.
Yeah, well, that's it. You get directions. You need directions now.
And I like the idea of as you're traveling through this county, where it doesn't have to be America, it doesn't have to be anywhere. Like it can just be sort of like a random sort of...
Yeah.
I like the idea of you kind of start in a location. You start, but you've your phone no longer has battery power, or it's set in a time period where all you had was like
maps.
So
yeah, I was thinking that. I was wondering what we'd do with that.
They say, you know, take a left here. You know, when you reach this tree, make sure you turn a right there. Don't turn left. Don't continue straight. Otherwise, you'll go straight into the dam. Or you know,
or maybe it is set. I like the idea actually of, because it can be really easy to just say, oh, it's before phones, like whatever.
That's even in the early 2000s. They didn't have GPS.
No, I know, but I mean that's easy to do. I think it's funnier though if it's literally so bumfuck wherever that like
there's no signal.
that you've got signal, Google just doesn't have the roads. And as well, or even if Google did have the roads, like the people there, like they don't even know the address of what to tell you. All they know is the direction. So literally all they can give you is the landmarks and the directions. It's like, can you just tell me the address? Like my GPS will tell me how to get there. I was like, we don't use road numbers around here or the road names. We just know where we're going.
There's the road with a big haystack.
Yeah, Haystack Road. It's not actually called that on any map, but we just know it's Haystack Road.
Map? What's a map?
Map.
So you hang a right over at Scarecrow Barn, and
you hang a right over at Scarecrow Barn. Turn left at Horsecock Alley. There's a horse there
with a big rooster.
You won't miss it. It's real good friends with a rooster.
So pretty much, you know, as you drive, whenever you get back on the highway, that's where it's sort of like, here's a little bit of exposition going.
Yeah, and look, I wonder how much
stuff. A lot of the gameplay is sort of like conversations that you sort of having.
Yeah, I don't think we want to make this a driving game particularly. Like we don't. I think we do let them control the car if we, you know, it's not driving for them necessarily.
It's not a desert bus sort of game where you have to.
No, that's it. You don't have to pay a lot of attention. I mean, and maybe we even just have an option for like auto drive on, because it's more about just experiencing. You've got some stuff coming over the radio, like the diner wants a lift somewhere, so you know you've actually got conversation happening.
You've got to get gas every now and again, because for some reason this car only has a very small fuel tank. It's just one of the things that every now and again you got to go get gas. But depending on, like, if this is set in America, depending on the state that you're actually in, depends on whether you're allowed to get out of the car and pump your own gas on it.
Right.
Because I found out that's a thing.
That you're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to. You have to let the attendant do it.
Right.
And then there's
is that like a union thing?
It's
or like a job security
safety thing supposedly. Right. That they don't want you getting out. If you want to get gas, then you got to.
They probably use that as a reason not to switch to fucking electric cars because it's like, but it's going to take away all the gas attendants' jobs.
Take out gerbs.
Okay, I like that. And then I think maybe eventually you run into some other people who are also trying to get to this convention.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you've got some companions who are sort of along for the whole, like the rest of the ride, and you can build up those relationships a bit more, sort of firmly. And
you I think in each town you maybe find another cosplay sort of person who goes, oh, I've been wanting to get out to that convention.
Yeah.
So you.
Actually, I kind of like the idea that you start having to upgrade your vehicle to like fit all the people. Like you get somewhere and you've already picked up like 3 people along the way who've wanted to come, and then someone else wants to come. You're like, oh, well, I can't fit you. I was like, well, we could take my minivan. Like,
so you park your car.
Yeah. Like, so
now you got to get back. Right. And the worst thing is remembering where you parked your car.
That's the credit, the after credits. As the credits roll, there's an extra like section of game where you're driving back. And
extra section of game being the entire game in reverse. Taking the same amount of time.
No,
and you've got to drop people off.
Drop people off. Actually, I kind of like the idea of it just doing that automatically, like not you driving it, but in faster motion, like backtracking your exact route. And like, because you could have it either not necessarily procedural, but like different choices means you might have picked up different people along the way, or even just taking dead ends or whatever.
You shouldn't have crashed on that bridge. That bridge is now out.
You burnt the bridge behind you, and now the credits
you burnt those bridges
sequence cannot finish. And you're stuck there forever. All right.
I'm now imagining you see the credits roll and you're driving along and he stops and he just sort of like he's sitting there going, what do I do now?
All right. 3, 2, 1, click. Color ham.
Eligible. Married.
Okay.
Okay, so we know that the first anniversary is the paper anniversary. What anniversary is the ham anniversary? The ham anniversary.
The ham anniversary. I mean, it's got to be 7.
That sounds right. That's about where the 7-year itch happens, and it's because you got some sort of disease from eating all that ham,
eating all that rancid ham.
You shouldn't have
looked at the color of the ham.
Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't be having that ham from your wedding day. Just because you put it in the freezer doesn't mean...
No, that doesn't work for ham. It might work for cake. Doesn't work for ham.
Even then for cake, no more than 12 months.
Yeah, maybe 7 years is a bit long. So anyway, is this the kickoff to our game where your husband dies from eating the ham,
the rancid ham? Yep,
from your wedding, 7 years ago,
and you warned him, like it doesn't work like cake.
Yeah, but he didn't listen. And now you're eligible again.
So you see her sitting on the couch. Police are walking by. She's just sort of crying into her hands. Police are, there's a detective sort of sitting down next to her.
How seriously do we want to take this? Because one part of me was thinking, well, he was a fucking idiot anyway, so maybe it's okay. She doesn't. She's not too.
I kind of like the idea that
Or are we taking this in a serious like? This is a devastating moment, and
this is a devastating
moment.
Forward but it's one of those sort of things where, how in some TV shows where nothing ever goes right.
Yeah,
this is like one of those where, she's now being blamed by the police for murdering her husband.
They think she poisoned him.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a comedy of errors in the fact that it's like a year later and they're still they're still hounding her every now and again because they didn't have the evidence to get her, but they're waiting for her to make a mistake, and it's sort of
Okay. That's good. I think there's one police detective who is hounding her, who couldn't let it go. I think it's another woman just to avoid the like real predatory male situation of what a cop in that situation can do. Not that a woman can't be predatory and awful in that situation too, but just to like even that out a bit. And so that's just an ongoing thing in her life. Like this fucking cop keeps showing up or like is keeping an eye on her somehow and basically harassing her because she's convinced that she killed her husband.
Yeah.
But on Eligible, is this about her getting back into her dating life? Like, is this her moving on from the death of her stupid husband?
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that this is a year later and she's finally moved on, and she's, you know, every now and again she may have like the sort of chat with, you know, maybe her dead husband's ashes that, you know, she still loves him and all this sort of stuff. But
his final will was that his ashes are turned into a glaze on a fresh ham.
They had a discussion like a week leading up saying, if I ever die, you'd get remarried, wouldn't you? And she goes, no. And he goes, no, you got to.
It's like, wait a year, but you got to get remarried.
Yeah. And it's sort of like she remembers that conversation. And it's like, as that conversation happens, it's like, she will remember this. Just doing those typical game things. It's like, of course she'll remember this. She's the protagonist in the game.
What sort of game is this? Is this like an adventure game kind of deal? Or is it a dating sim?
I like the idea of it being an adventure game, kind of like not as gross, but the female Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean in that you've got a variety of people that you're sort of potentially pursuing, but it's point and click-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we love the good old point and click.
Oh yeah,
adventures.
Oh, yeah.
There's something about a point and click, and especially you look around the Larry 5-ish, where he's going on three separate dates, and then you've got other stuff that's sort of happening, like little vignettes that are happening. Yeah,
essentially base it around the few people you were sort of dating or potentially dating at that time.
And it's whether you take it in the sort of like Juice Bigelow sort of way of everyone seems to be just a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
And you realise in the end that, you know, these people actually have, you know, some really good qualities to them. They may be a little bit different, but they actually are good, wholesome people, and you're not actually...
Yeah, I guess you need to... Like, what is the lesson that she is learning through this? Or is she like... Is it about finding someone new, or is it about realizing she doesn't want someone new, or is it about but you know, she finds a whole new group of friends or something?
Yeah. Or I kind of like the idea that maybe she's realizing that she's got everything she needs, but you know, maybe wants a new friendship group and doesn't actually need
like a romance,
a romance sort of thing, and she's fine on her own.
Yeah. Well, I like the idea that, you know, her husband, while stupid, was her best friend, and like they did everything together, and as a result, like they didn't have any other like close friendships with other people, like close friend groups, and so she's sort of been alone for this year with no one to support her. Does she make friends with the cop eventually? Like, does that turn around? I kind
of think that that'd be a good, you know, final sort of thing, that she makes amends with the cop and says, "Look, this is the sort of person that my husband was," and shows her the video, the wedding video.
Because this cop just couldn't believe that someone would be so stupid to eat a 7-year-old ham, and he ate the whole thing,
and so. He's got in the wedding video, he goes, you know the 7-year anniversary is the ham anniversary. This is the ham that we're going to eat when we've been married for 7 years. And
she's like, going, it's not going to last.
It doesn't last that long. It's like well, no, I'll eat it all.
Ham anniversary.
And it's like, that's in the wedding video.
It's in the video. She's just like, oh, I'm sorry.
It's like, it's okay. No one else would have believed it either. But there's just something about like a really stupid guy, and it's a typical guy thing to do.
Oh yeah, thinks he's invincible.
Definitely. So do you think it actually happens around the reason why it's sort of like you skip a year is because, you know, the lockdowns just happened and lockdowns is just sort of opening up again? So
it could be. That's actually an interesting idea that games are going to have to, whether games will start incorporating the, you know, global
some
pandemic.
TV shows have incorporated.
Yeah.
Some haven't. Like
some have ignored it for sure.
And I think it's better if they touch on it. Like we rewatched a little while ago Friends.
Yeah.
And Friends set in New York from 96 through to 2004.
Yeah.
Never talk about 9/11.
Right.
And it feels weird that you're like something's happened here, and you can tell when around the time that it happens.
Yeah.
But they don't make any mention of it, and it feels not authentic.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting thought around. Yeah, I think authenticity is a good word, and just like timelessness of something, and that can go both ways. Like,
yes,
ignoring
you're dating yourself very much so by putting yourself in there, but then again, your hairstyles are already dating it. So why you're fighting it?
Yeah, like because huge events like that are also of that time. So just like the hairstyles. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it can be locked down.
So I like the idea that a lot of this is internet dating, and it's all about, like, you know, she hasn't gone out with someone for years, like
8 years.
Well, like, even before that, like they were together for the 5 years before they got married.
Sure.
So it was like, you know, you go back 12 years ago. Was there much internet dating back in 2008? I don't think so.
Not to the degree
that there is now.
Yeah,
but I like the idea that it's sort of like she's having to deal with, you know, a new way of dating people and meeting people, but she can't just go out and meet people because, you know, there are still limits to how many people can be out. And
there's a new post-lockdown dating app that's come out.
Well, I like the
called
idea
Masks Off.
Well, I like the idea that you can actually, you know, stylize your mask and all this sort of stuff.
It's like you swipe left for social distance and you swipe right for.
There's just something about, you know, setting it sort of like slightly post 2020.
Yeah, and
you know, the world has now changed.
Yeah.
And it will have changed until about 2 years down the track, and then everyone will be back to...
And then everyone will forget, yeah.
Everyone will
forget,
stop caring. And it will be bad again. Like, just as bad as it was before.
I mean, yeah.
I've got to say, this lockdown's been an introvert's dream.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your definition of bad and good and whether it's improved now or not. But, yes, I think things will return to...
somewhat normalcy.
Some normalcy, which is not that fantastic. But anyway.
Yeah.
Let's 3, 2, 1, click.
Bit of an introspective episode today.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. All right. Underlying fuse.
Wondrous ingredient.
Ooh. So fuse could be taken as like fusion.
Mm-hmm.
In which often you'll have, like in food, like in restaurants, you'll have like a restaurant that is a something fusion. So you could go that just because we've got an ingredient.
Mm-hmm. Well, wondrous ingredient. That says to me magic.
Magic, yes. So is this some sort of magical restaurant?
Ooh, this is somewhere that we haven't necessarily gone before.
Okay.
Future magic.
Oh,
so
okay.
kind of set in, a sci-fi sort
technologically advanced.
Technologically advanced.
Yep. Civilization.
That still has, like, wizards and like orcs and goblins and all these sort of things, but just set in a much more technological age where, maybe he's trying to learn more about the magic of the past.
Well, what's interesting about that is, like, so often in sci-fi, you've essentially got magic. It's just technology. So there could be an interesting comparison there of having them both in that world where people are doing things with magic. It's like, I can levitate this mug. And the other person's like, yeah, I mean, we've all got tractor beams in our phones. What's the fucking big deal?
It's kind of like, have you seen Onward?
Yes. Yeah.
That's where I was sort of getting
I was thinking that too. That's obviously that's contemporary. That's contemporary. Now.
I like the idea that it's future, but it's still got that idea of, magic.
Yeah. Is
still
in their past,
and there are relatively few magic users anymore.
Yeah,
but you find them all at Renaissance fairs and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and it sort of opens at a Renaissance fair.
Okay, are we tricking? Is this a switcheroo?
It's a switcheroo.
Okay, we open at a Renaissance fair. You like everything's a little bit off, but you're not sure if it's just the graphical style of the game.
And then you see a kid
on a hoverboard.
I'm thinking that a kid sort of like gets up high and is watching like a joust and all this sort of stuff, and nearly falls into the arena.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden the parent quickly tractor beams them, and they're just
or he just like
bounces
off the protective force field that's invisibly over the joust, like around the jousting ring.
And that's when it's like, oh, okay, so this has got technology and magic all in the same sort of thing. And
I really like this idea of that technology has superseded magic. Magic's still around. You can do amazing shit by today's standards, but they've come up with technological ways to do it all anyway.
Yeah.
To that same like effectiveness. So yeah, like force fields and
robots
levitation and throwing fireballs and whatever else. You can just do it, whatever.
There's something about like a magician like using a fancy high-tech communications device while throwing a fireball at someone.
Yeah. So do we go to the level of like matter manipulation? Like there's like fucking little nanites that you can control with your mind and stuff. Like how far can you go on the technology side?
I kind of like the idea that it's sort of like Deus Ex in that you can sort of choose your augmentations and that sort of stuff, but then you get almost Bioshock like. It feels like there's some Bioshock sort of powers and stuff, but it's actually just spells that you're finding.
Right.
That, so you go to a vending machine and you can get a scroll out of it.
You're like pirating spell books.
Get on
BitTorrent and 3D print yourself a wand.
Oh god, that's freaking hilarious. And you go online and it's like every now and again, your 3D printed wand sort of doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, oh, I wonder what's going on with this, And it seems a pretty good wand. You're waving it around and it's like doing stuff, but it's like every 20th or something spell, like it just goes a little bit
backfires a little.
Until finally, like it has a major malfunction, and then you need a new wand sort of thing. But I'm just wondering whether you can have like a technological wand as well.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I
like
think
the end of the game is literally you combine technology and magic to be the most.
Yeah, I'm almost picturing. Is this a bit of a like looter
shooter?
Not a shooter. I was thinking more like a Diablo style.
Yep.
Clicker, sort of loot clicker or whatever you want to. I don't know what it's called. Dungeon crawler.
I like the idea of it being a dungeon crawler. I would much rather it be like a third person adventure sort of thing,
I mean,
rather than just being
like a top down
click here.
clicking. Yeah. That's fine. A third person kind of dungeon crawler-ish sort of thing. So you're making use of these powers, and you've got all these different. You can load out yourself with more magic stuff or more tech stuff, but I think you do have these like in between bits which are more.
Taking your kid to the Renaissance fair.
It's more of the everyday sort of stuff. Maybe this is a world where like your job is some sort of border control, because at the edges of this city there's a mass of like both mystic like magical and alien creatures or something, like, or just whatever, at different days of the week you'll get aliens coming, you'll get a fucking horde of centaur or something or whatever, like whoever the bad guys are. So you've got these times of like you've got these battles, you've got these sessions that you go through of using these powers to just fucking loot shoot stuff.
Yep.
And then you go back home for dinner. Like it's just your day job.
Your day job is literally dungeon clearer or something like that.
Essentially, yes, yeah. Because they want to
we unearthed another dungeon from back in the old days.
They want to turn them into Airbnbs. So you have to clear them out. I think we had a game like that. But that was actually medieval or whatever, fancy. I like that.
Yeah, there's something really cool about that. I want to play it. Well, please make it.
I like the idea of having like modern versions of the fashion and stuff, like a wizard's hat and like armor and shit.
A wizard's cap that has got like a
it's got a brim. It's the same, but it's just got a brim like a baseball cap.
Yeah. It's a snapback.
It's a what?
It's a snapback.
Oh, like that, yeah. And you can wear it backwards. It's still got that fucking peaked
Still
top.
got the peak on top. That's really awesome.
That's really funny. I really want to see someone's like drawing or version of the wizard hat, but instead of the brim all the way around, it's just got the baseball cap brim. That's fucking funny. All right.
Now, does it have stars and all those sort of things from like a cheap wizard sort of thing, or is it like just a floppy?
Well, I mean, it's a loot shooter, so it depends on, you get different versions of it. You get pointier versions, floppier versions, different colors, different patterns, whatever you like.
3, 2, 1, click. Deserved Kernel.
Kernel with a C or a K?
Kernel.
And my words are fiscal factory.
Okay, so is this a popcorn factory?
Yes, but it's a wacky popcorn factory where you have to do things like install chattering teeth to take the corn off the cob as part of your production line.
As part of like making this gourmet popcorn.
Yep.
You got to choose different wacky flavors, like, this one's got fairy floss and this one's...
Or is the corn just one aspect of it? Is this a whole, like... Because I do like the idea of a factory game, but with these ridiculous, weird, like, almost incredible machine-like ideas for each component in the factory.
It's circus satisfactory.
Circus satis... Yeah. Yes.
Set as circus free.
Something like that.
Circus Factory.
Circus Factory. But that's already, Satisfactory is already a pun. Like now you're sort of anyway. Yeah, I like the idea of, because like the beauty of Satisfactory is you've got your conveyors, you've got your different methods of getting things around.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of having some wackier ways of doing that. So you've got like
clown cars.
You've got like catapults that like launch it across. You've got tubes that can't go in a straight line. It's always like a wacky like up in a spiral going up, sending it over here. So all your little corn kernels are like getting sucked through it or something.
Yep. You've got the peanut mine that you're digging all the peanuts out, and you got to separate it from the dirt. And
and then you have to send your raw peanuts through, to get their shells cracked off by giant rubber mallets.
That the peanuts are the ones that are getting catapulted, because that's how you kind of separate it from the dirt. Because peanuts fly further.
The dirt fall. Yeah, I like that as a separate. That's a double. It's like a double whammy. It's transporting it and processing it at the same time.
But it's like how many peanuts are you going to lose at a time? And are you firing it over the one anaphylactic
elephant
clown or?
Yeah, I like. So, okay, so you're thinking circus because. So is this all circus foods?
Circus foods, all candies.
Yeah, like, so you've got your fairy floss, you've got your popcorn, you've got your peanuts, you've got your, like, fried dough.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of deals.
I mean, you got those spiral potatoes. You got,
Oh, my God, yes. I love the idea then of you've got, like, your clown with his giant hands who's, like, digging up the potato fields, throwing them into a backpack, throws them into the machine that just, like, slices them and stretches them out in one long go.
It's the Slinky Icer.
Yeah, there you go. But then you have to send it through, like, the fryer and the, like, seasoning thing or whatever. You've got all these different... just like in Satisfactory, you have to process it in different ways.
Yeah, I like the idea that there's, like, different circuses in this world that...
Right, so yeah, what's the final...
Well, whether it's actually circuses here, or whether there's, like in Satisfactory, there's a massive circus in orbit.
Well, maybe you just have, like, there's a big like a big circus, a train or something. Like, how the circuses always used to go on, they'd have their big trains with all their things. The train comes by every whatever and collects your stuff. And so that's what you're sort of aiming for. So I guess the thing here is what Satisfactory does really well is it builds up upon itself, and these factory games do that. Can we do that here?
Yeah, well, the salt that you're first picking, like, there's a couple of different ways that you can get salt. At the start, you're only going through a salt mine.
Yeah.
And then later on, you can, take some of the ocean water and you can desalinate the water to get more salt.
I think you're being too logical. I think what you need to start doing is assaulting people.
And that
as you assault people, all the salt comes out.
Yeah. So you've got salt squads that they go off and assault people to get salt.
Yeah. And then they give them something afterwards. Maybe they give them a spiral potato. Like maybe they give them some of the food.
Peanuts at the start are like one of your early foods.
Yeah.
But later on, you need it to combine it with sugar and a little bit of salt to make some peanut brittle. And then, like, you take that peanut brittle and you put that on the ice cream later on, and then, sort of like...
Well, and then I think you can use the peanut brittle then
as caltrops, because it's really, really...
Yes. Or as some sort of ingredient, like tool, essentially, some sort of intermediate... processing step on the way to something else. You combine it with something else.
With it. It's a weapon that breaks down.
Is this like from the opposing circuses that come and try to attack your factory? Yeah. So you have to build weapons. You have to, arm your roving bands of clowns who are patrolling your borders. Well, actually, no, that's kind of good because that does give a good alternate use for a lot of this stuff. It's like, okay, do I sell off all the peanut brittle to like the main circus train or whatever?
Or do I have a side business going where I can get a little bit of extra money? But
or I was more thinking, or do I like send it through the smasher and turn it into the caltrops, because I need to defend better. It's going to slow down the attackers.
Yeah. But I like the idea that sugar that you start getting at the start, and you get that from when you think of sugar and spice and all things nice, that little girl crusher is like...
Oh my God, you're just getting a supply of children from the circuses, crushing up the girls for sugar and spice, tearing apart the boys for slugs and snails and puppy dog tails.
Yep.
Which are useful for other things.
You can extract it in a not so violent way, but they're not quite the same.
They're not quite the same.
They kind of look like those kids from like Village of the Damned sort of thing, where they're
I was thinking
they're all
like
blonde haired now.
I was thinking it's like the end of Willy Wonka, where they've like stretched out Mike TV, and he's like really like, but they've just done that to all these boys to get wring all the slugs and snails and puppy dog tails out of them. I mean, the slime from the slugs and snails will definitely be useful.
Oh yeah,
to sort of bind some of your ingredients.
Yeah, I think the reason why you're getting it is because it's like the glue for, putting some of the machines together even.
Yeah, it's actually it's a base sort of resource that you need. The puppy dog tails, they're just a byproduct.
They're a byproduct, and at first you can...
End game down the line when you're building like robotic sentries.
And you realise that you've just been putting the puppy dog's tails into like a ditch, and then when you go over the mountain, you see how big this this pile of puppy dog tails are now.
I do like the idea of this being... I feel like we did something about this recently, but instead of Satisfactory where you're like putting things into nice, clean storage containers, it's just piles that will just get larger.
100% piles. It's not...
And so even like when you're catapulting the peanuts and the dirt across, like the peanuts, you catch the peanuts because you know where they're going to land, but in between is just piles of dirt building up that you then also have to do something with.
Yes.
And you can come and have your little bulldozers.
Otherwise, you could get earth elementals, and you just don't want to have to deal with that.
That's it. You can't let the earth elementals, grow from that pure soil.
Yeah. I mean, we did do a game recently, and we keep on going back to the Satisfactory well.
Of course. I mean, it's a classic formula that has so much potential in different genres.
And they just haven't reached all that potential yet, have they?
We've get on it.
We've come up with other things,
Well, I think a big thing that we tend to add to Satisfactory is the defense style stuff, which I know Factorio had to a degree. I haven't played a lot of Factorio. But Satisfactory has definitely stayed away from that, and that's fine. That's a perfectly valid choice, but it definitely adds a different
and also in Satisfactory, it's like everything is unlimited.
Yeah.
So once you start digging up something, there's no limit to it, which is actually a good thing for when you just want to automate something. You don't want to have to go back and go, oh god, I've got to go back and do this again with my first factory. But then again, you can't do what you can do in Factorio, which is you take a blueprint and you go, yep, now I'm going to rebuild that.
I think that's the big difference. You need that blueprint system if one, you've got limits on your resources, and two, when we might have this in this game, is if they can be destroyed. And the challenge there is like, do you just lose all the resources that you put into that? Mm-hmm. Or do you get some of them back or whatever? But maybe you only get the resources back if you kill the thing that destroyed it, because they just like come and devour it or something.
Yeah. Okay, let's click again for our last one.
Yeah, I think this is probably the last one of the night.
Applicable stroke.
Glossy flood.
Okay. So I saw stroke, and the first thing I thought about was golf. Mainly because there's a set of golf clubs right there.
I did think golf as well, particularly with flood, because then it was going more to like a landscape sort of situation. I'm not sure where glossy comes in.
So I kind of think of the game Golf Story, and then I think about an RPG in VR.
Okay.
In where you're a tour professional, but your weapon of choice then, because you're a spy on the side sort of thing.
Spy on the side.
And every mission that you do is based around golf.
Spy with a side of fries.
Like, I'm literally thinking of, you go through like a mission, and you're not only taking out people as you're going through the mission, but you're also playing golf.
Yes. So like, you intentionally hit the ball into a sand trap so that you can assassinate your opponent.
Yeah.
While you're there without raising suspicion.
You putt into the elevator so you can go up.
Wait, you don't, so it's not just happening on an actual golf course?
No, I'm talking about...
Everywhere you go, you have to golf there first. Okay, that's a bit wackier than I was thinking. All right,
this is totally like out of left field. But so is Golf Story. Like,
yeah,
you know, the idea that in this
are you
world,
the only person who has to golf around, or is everyone having to golf around?
I do kind of like the idea that,
or is there just a subset of people who golf around? Like, so it's not entirely unusual. Like, when someone sees you come into their third floor office out of the elevator and you have to, like, chip the ball as close to their office door as possible.
Without them noticing.
Well, if you're trying to assassinate them, yeah. You have to, like, get it into a fish tank or something.
Well, the idea is that, you know, there's a certain location that you got to get it close to. But you can't hit this person with the
ball.
With this particular ball, you can replace the ball, and
you have to use different balls for different situations. Oh, so if you're trying to be sneaky, do you have to use like a wiffle ball or something that's not going to go as far because it doesn't have that weight behind it,
but also isn't
it's
going to
silent?
Yes. Well, a little bit more silent than.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you need to explain it. I think
No.
I think it's just kind of like you've got these sprawling levels, Hitman-esque.
But the first one's on a golf course. The first one is you playing golf.
Yes.
And then you finish your golf game and the player's expecting it to switch to some different mode. But like, now it cuts to like the parking lot, and you've still got the exact same golf controls.
It cuts to you're on a top of a building. You're using a little telescope viewing, where someone is, and so you just go,
and just take them out from a distance. Well, I was more thinking that, like, to introduce the golf everywhere situation, it's literally, you just have to golf your way off the golf course and to your car. And, I mean, I guess, do you drive?
I think you can drive, but the second that you get out, you put down a green and you drop your ball, you take a drop, and then
It's so stupid. I love it, though. I love it. I want the entire game to have some of your, like, classic golf UI of your swing meter, if club you've got selected.
If you want to hide behind that upturned table, you've got to get that chip perfectly.
Yeah.
And chip it behind there, because where it lands, you can't move that far away from the ball. Like,
what's the penalty? What are the penalties? Like, what are the penalties for moving too far away from the ball? Or is it literally just like, we don't explain it, this is the gameplay, and it's not explained in world, it's just like a golf game, you're always at your ball.
I think there are penalty strokes. And the whole idea is there is a par for
It's a par for the whole game.
No, not for the whole. Well, yes,
There is overall,
there's
but
a par
yes.
for each game, but each mission also has a par.
Right.
Like, you're only allowed 500 strokes for this mission.
Oh my god, this is the best. A Hitman game, essentially, where your entire method of doing anything is via golf strokes.
Yes.
And you've got a par, you've got different clubs, obviously, you've got different balls, though. So can you have, like...
You can take a penalty stroke if you use the smoke bomb.
I was going to think like a poison gas ball or a smoke ball or something.
You're going to take a stroke, but you're going to have to also take a drop. So you're going to not only take a single stroke for hitting it there, but you've then got to take another penalty.
Because you obviously
drop
don't want to go to where it ends up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
and then that area effectively becomes out of bounds.
Until the smoke clears.
Until the smoke clears.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something about, like, effectively you're teleporting.
Yeah.
Because it's in VR, as I said.
Oh, right. I forgot about the VR bit. Yeah.
Effectively, you hit with a golf.
Oh my god, that makes it so much harder. Because I was thinking if it's not in VR that you'd at least have your, like, shot indicators and stuff of where the ball's going to end up.
So maybe there's an optional mode.
The VR mode makes it impossible. Because I feel like you got to have at least a bit of control of, like, here's exactly where I'm aiming for, and then obviously you've got the usual kind of shot meter where however accurately you do it on a timing thing is how, like, you might veer to the left or whatever and not get exactly where you want to get. You might slice it.
Yep. So I kind of like the idea that after you take a stroke, you have X amount of time before you have to
essentially teleport to that.
Get to the next place. So you do have a little bit of leeway, but you almost got like a shot clock sort of going down.
I was almost picturing then that the game would take over. Like, you hit that ball there, and then we've got some nice procedural animation where your character will just go to that ball, like
sneaking down and running through.
Yeah, it might be it'll be contextual, so it might be sneaking. It might, like, jump over a table if you've hit it over the table or whatever and duck down on the other side. But it will procedurally path to that ball.
Okay. So we've talked about the missions.
Yeah.
In between the mission, when you go back to HQ and you drop the ball,
yeah,
and then you whack it, and you know you happen to hit it inside, you know, the main area, and then you got to hit it over near the security desk, and you got to swipe your card, and then you got to put it into the elevator, and just head into the elevator, and then you're going into your boss's office, and you got to sort of, you know, chip the ball so that you can
land on the seat.
Yeah, around the seat.
Around the seat. Close enough to the seat.
You can be in the meeting.
You've got like a meter square.
And they say,
like
okay.
meter radius around the ball or something that you...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you basically... I think you're the only one in that room that seems to be doing golf, but they're just like...
Well, because you're a special golf agent.
You're
that's
secret golf agent.
Yeah, that's just who you are. That's why you're so good at what you do. It's not questioned in the game.
It's a game that you started many years ago, and I like the idea that, you know, maybe halfway through the game you see that, you know, something tragic happened when you didn't play golf that one day, so that.
No, I don't think we explain it. I think it's too much. I think it's just, this is who you are. This is how you.
So when you go down to the queue-like person, they give you a new set of golf clubs in which, you know, these are special golf clubs in which you've got a flamethrower attached to this one, and you can sort of take some other people out. But here's your special.
I don't think it's got a flamethrower attached to it. I think it sets the ball on fire when you hit it.
I don't know, but I absolutely love this game, and
there's so much stuff
there. I want to play it. Like,
there's so much stuff
crazy.
There. I think the villain then.
What is the antithesis of golf?
Well, I was sort of thinking maybe they're like a baseball player, so they can hit the ball back
Oh, yes.
You're essentially pitching the ball to them. And they hit it back
in the sweet spot. Bang, home run.
So basically the final battle is you having to strike out the villain with your golf shots. You're not trying to hit them, you're just trying to get it over what essentially is the plate.
You make them walk.
Or you just make them. They don't take any swings. They just walk. What does that do for the gameplay?
Well, I think
or is that humiliating to them or something?
You can set up in this massive warehouse where you can see the baseball diamond, and you kind of knew that it was coming. Basically, you can set a trap up on say first base, and you got to either.
Sorry, if the villain's using the same rules as you, can they only move if they hit something, nobody catches it, and they have to move in a diamond pattern? And also, how do they even get anywhere unless they only ever stop before they reach home? They never want to get a home run because they just end up where they started.
Their minion actually has a golf cart that they can sort of just pick them up in and take them round.
Well, they just... they just only ever go... to go the furthest that they want, that they can, they only ever get to second base. I fucking love that. That is hilarious.
Yeah. That is one of the best games that we've ever come up with, and no one will ever make it, and it makes me sad.
When we eventually quit our jobs to make a game studio together, I don't know. We've literally never discussed that. I just sprang it on Trevor right now. That's the first game.
Let's just say that I've thought about it, and I'm like, I don't have the money, and we'd have to save up a lot of money, and then sell our first game. So it's almost like we build our games first, we sell one, we get lots of money for it, and then we can live. I
mean, that's the dream, but also neither of us have the time to do that.
What we need to do is win the lottery. Both of us together.
Yeah.
And then have all the money to start our own game studio.
To start our own game studio. Would it just be like Bitstorm Studios?
Yeah.
Can handle that.
Yeah.
Have to hire some good artists and writers and programmers.
That's sounding like a lot of money right now. We just need to get really good at it.
Oh, that's all.
Yes.
Oh. Gotcha. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Why don't we always get better at things? Why can't you just go, I want to get better at things? Just get
what
good.
are we even doing? Get good at things.
I wanted to learn about coding, so I learned about coding. Why can't I, learn about 3D art?
You can, Trevor, you can. It's all within your grasp.
Too much. I don't want to. Okay.
All right, I think we'll end it there. Thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm. If you want to find us online and all of our previous episodes, go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm. It's all there. Go have a listen, leave us a review, let us know what you think.
And finally, we'd like to thank Kurudus for allowing us the use of the song Mount Defiance off the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott, and hey Ben. 4...